Yeah, welcome to Three Conservative Gimps. We've conservatism and republicanism. Hey, all the good information you need to make an informative decision when it comes to voting. So we like to think that we are imparting some information for people to make better decisions at the ballot box. Unfortunately, it didn't work too well 2 years ago. So hopefully we could turn that around and get the right people into office. So we've got a great show today. We've got Lloyd Mendenhall waiting in the wings here. Mike is still on hiatus, and I hope he will come back and join us uh, shortly. So we've got a great show. Let's welcome. We've got Chris Wedgeworth. We've got Mike B, aka the Drone Ranger, and I saw Mason Kaiser or Keiser. He came in early in the show. There's Mason. Good afternoon. Great to have you. Hey, we're building up some folks that are watching. We've got some hot topics tonight, this afternoon. Our governor here in Colorado has compared abortion to like getting a nose job. Oh yeah, that's really smart. That'll be a great campaign ad that he'll be running this year. So we've got a lot, and then we're going to be talking about some important primaries that just happened last Tuesday, and we've got some more important primaries coming up in the next few months. Let's get the ball rolling. And before that, I want to thank Steve Carpenter. Thanks for popping in the chat. Always good to have you. So let's get this show going. Let's welcome all the way from Muskogee, Oklahoma. It's the effervescent Lloyd Mendenhall. Welcome, Lloyd. Good
Howdy,
to see
Art.
you.
How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How's the missus doing?
She's doing good. I don't know if some of you saw my post and stuff, but we went Wednesday and saw the oncologist, and he was, the main reason he wanted to do the PET scan was because she lost so much weight. But he said no. He says it's scar tissue. He says I've just come to that conclusion. He says, but so we're back to every 6 months keeping an eye on it. So the news was good. So I was glad to hear that. And she's napping right now. We have Amazon Prime. We have the Fire Stick that we watch videos, and we were watching apparently IMDb TV, which is part of their lineup that they have that you can watch for free. Apparently, it switched from that to it's called Freevee, and they've redesigned themselves, and so she's watching. Oh my God, I can't remember what it is now. It's
Iron Man.
anyway. No. She's not in. No, not Downton Abbey either. She's this is a new one. Well, it's a new to us series that she's watching, and it just keeps rolling through and playing. So as long as it's doing that, but yeah, it's so she's happy watching the show back there, and I'm just getting through trying to watching.
Oh, Mike B, that must have been shortest attention band. It's short attention span theater. It's either that or stand up on the Comedy Channel. That was many moons ago.
Yeah.
That was the show that videotaped. It was videoed at Snickers Comedy Bar in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and the show was called Night Shift with Kevin Ferguson, and it was
Okay.
of like a Tonight Show type format
Right.
where comedians would come out, do their monologue, and then go sit on the couch or the chair. It's Kevin Ferguson where uh, he would interview the comics.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yep.
Cool. And Mike says he's been watching Evening at the Improv on Freevee. So,
Yep.
and yeah, at Freevee it's got some good lineups of stuff, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I because I actually dropped our cable television. We don't even have cable coming into the house anymore. We everything's streaming. So,
Yep. Same
I
here.
definitely have enjoyed the new Star Trek.
Yeah. Good. Me too.
That's other than I forgot who it was last night was saying they slipped in a little bit of
Yeah.
January 6th there, but
January 6th. Yeah.
yeah,
It was Bill that put that in.
yeah, Bill said that, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, I mean, if you're the original series fan, this is definitely on that line. I think they've done a good job with it. You know,
I hope they keep it up, and
yeah,
I hope
yeah,
they don't slip any more of this woke crap
wokeism,
into it.
yeah,
Just
yeah,
keep it to
yeah. I think,
the timeline.
yeah, and I think a lot of these groups are starting to drift away a little bit from their wokeism. They're realizing woke doesn't sell tickets
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
or doesn't
didn't I
sell.
hear that Disney fired their fearless leader? Said,
Yeah,
hey,
yeah. They're Disney is doing some house cleaning.
good.
Warner Brothers is doing a lot of house cleaning because
Ooh, that's
they were
good.
they were taken over by Discovery. They're now owned by
Oh, that's
Discovery.
right.
So so Discovery's kind of cleaning house a little bit. They're getting rid of some of their
Mhm.
a lot of their lineup. I think they're doing away with the Arrowverse altogether, pretty
Good.
much, because they've for it's run for 10 years. I mean, it's getting to the point where they can only expand so much. But yeah, it's I'm glad to. At least that's the rumor. Yeah, I just reading. I think
Yeah.
might have the monkeypox. Yeah,
Hmm.
just getting through COVID, and now all of a sudden we got monkeypox to deal with.
Yeah. Also, CNN is changing too. They canceled their CNN Plus because
Yeah,
that
what that
turned out to
last
be
that
a bomb.
yeah, it
Yep.
didn't even last. Disney, Discovery, Netflix, and others are cleaning house. It's about time.
And
You're
I
right,
think
Steve. It is.
CNN got bought out by somebody who wants to
Well,
change
well,
the direction of the channel to
well,
be more like
CNN.
the old CNN.
Well, CNN was part of Time Warner.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they were owned by Time Warner, and then Time split. Time Warner split, and it became Warner News or Warner Media and Time Media, and they kept them separate. And then Warner Media was taken over by HBO, who was then taken over. Then all of HBO and the Warner group was taken over by Discovery. So yeah, so CNN would either, I don't know if CNN stayed under the Time umbrella or if they went under the but I know that their Time is trying to get out of the broadcast stuff. I think they're trying to get away from some of that, and
Right.
uh, and I'm trying to think that there's a bunch of them that became an amalgamation, and now they're breaking them all up because certain aspects of that amalgamation have not been making money. So, and they're in unlike Twitter, they're in the business of making money. The Twitter board, they don't want to make money for their shareholders. So,
Anasteri, as a young libertarian, like no librarian in Colorado. Okay.
well, they
That,
retracted the message. I didn't see it.
uh, Oh, libertarian.
It's a
Okay.
young libertarian in
Libertarian
Colorado
in
State feels
Colorado State
hopeless.
feels. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Well, we'll go on that.
Yeah, let's
Evidently,
just get
our illustrious governor has come out and said that abortion is just like having a nose job. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. A lot of people
yeah.
have like retractors up their nose, turned inside out, and crushed, to pieces. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's a lot like an abortion. Oh yeah.
He wants to know what should we do to maybe help. He says he's 30. So
Uh, well, join the Republican Party or become an independent and vote in the Republican primary, which is coming up next month. And please do not vote some of these wacko Republicans who believe the election was stolen, because those people are unelectable. We need to get people that
who
can
are electable?
win in November. Like
Yeah.
Ron Hanks, he's not a winner. Vote for Joe O'Day. He's our best chance at beating Michael Bennett in November. And also in CD7, Eric Odlin, he's the best choice, not Laurel Iman, because she's one of those people that believes the election was stolen and cannot.
Is there a
Oh, good.
registered?
That's good for you.
Good.
Understand?
Yeah, there's a lot of that's the problem. I mean, we may personally hold that the election was stolen, but it's irrelevant now. It's 2 years into the game,
Right.
and but we need to elect people that have some conservative values. They need to be somebody who's, in the primaries. They need to be somebody who is electable. I've said this for years about Republicans. The Republican Party is we don't need to elect people that are on the far right fringe, but we also don't want people who are centrist
Squishy.
and squishy centrist. We need to find somebody who's, because those of us that are conservatives, we have he's from Colorado Springs. Okay. Most of us that are average working people, we have some basic values, and that's something we got to look at. Somebody who has values. We believe in fiscal conservatism. We believe in
Personal responsibility.
Personal responsibility, yeah, and these people that are it's real simple. Every election is stolen, as far as I'm concerned, because
at some point,
depending
not
on what
massively, but we
well,
got to
but
get back to election integrity. But
in election
here's the
integrity,
deal: we need Republicans that will appeal to unaffiliates, because right now,
right?
here in Colorado, they're the largest group because
Yeah,
they're 40% of the electorate. And we need, because right now, Republicans sadly are the smallest group now here in Colorado at
and that is
less than
that's not
30%. I think we're
and that's not the
28.
Colorado I grew up in.
Oh yeah, when we were in it, yeah. Lloyd's only a few years older than me, and not by much. But back then, Colorado, both houses, 2/3 or more, uh, were Republican, and we elected Republican governors
Yeah,
fairly regularly. I
yeah,
think well, the last one before Governor Lamb was Vanderhoof, who
yeah,
took over
yeah.
after Governor Love took a cabinet position under Nixon.
Position, yeah, under Nixon,
And
yeah, yeah.
Vanderhoof was defeated by Dick Lamb, and this was before term limits, and Lamb served 3 terms. And then after Lamb was Romer, and he served 3 terms.
Right.
And
right.
then, oh God, there was a Republican, and this was when term limits came in, and he was elected to 2 terms.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Bill Owens. Bill Owens was the last Republican governor. We've had nothing but a string of Democrats, and it's been a disaster. When I got really involved in 2010. We had Scott McGinnis, who was a former congressman, and then there was a Tea Party.
You started out as a Democrat originally, didn't you?
Me?
Yeah.
No.
No,
I was always a Republican.
Okay. I thought. That's right. I thought maybe because of your show business and stuff, you were.
No.
Okay.
No.
All right.
I was one of the few conservatives in.
One of the few conservatives. Yeah.
Yeah. That's why I'm only still friends with a handful of comedians.
Handful of people. Yeah. See, it's like me. I've been thinking. He puts ouch. Sorry about that, Art. I didn't mean to insult your integrity.
Like, what?
But, I was trying to think. I'm talking about like when you were 17, 18 years old. See, I knew from 5th grade that I was going to be a Republican. I had a teacher that taught us government and how it worked, and taught us history and how it worked. And she was also a Republican, and it appealed to me. Yeah. Which it just, and I've always been conservative and been a Republican, but I also walked the block up to our church, every week. I went to church every Sunday, and up until I went, and then we moved to Grand Junction, but I still went to church every Sunday. Especially when I became a minister, that kind of had, that helped.
Well,
I kind of had to be there sometimes.
A prerequisite.
Well, and that was the problem I had. I wanted to start church at noontime because I like to sleep in the mornings.
Mm-hmm.
But nobody liked that idea, so it didn't go over too well. But anyways, yeah.
So I want to get back to the disaster that we had in 2010, where we had an unpopular Democrat governor, and the polls were showing that he was beatable. And then it came out that there was some plagiarism allegations against the front runner, Scott McGinnis, and which turned out to be not true down the road, but it derailed his campaign, and everybody went to this Tea Party candidate, Republican, Dan Mays, and he won the primary. And then we find out that his resume was how should we say it? It was puffery. It was a lot of fluff and nothing solid there. So everything he said, where he went to school and what he did was not very true, So then Tom Tancredo decided, hey, I'm going to run as a American constitutional candidate. So he jumped in, and what happened? The votes got split. Tom Tancredo got 35%, and Dan Mays got 10%, and that's how we got Hickenlooper.
Yeah.
And then after that, it was just one disaster after another. It just got to the point where, right now I'm at my limit.
Yeah.
It's like if we screw up this time, I'm going to just throw up my hands. All right, it's your circus, not my monkeys. You guys screw with it. I'm done.
Yeah. Yeah. It's time to
Yeah,
retire and move to Texas.
yeah.
You know,
Well, we're Tennessee.
or Tennessee,
Gee,
Tennessee,
yeah,
maybe.
Tennessee is a red state, and
Yeah.
cost of living is a
Yeah.
lot
Well,
cheaper.
see,
And
what you said something that I didn't that I find it. You mentioned, and that's that the one gentleman was accused of plagiarism. That should have been a shoe in because look what it did for Joe.
yeah, yeah, that's right. Well, yeah, I take that back. It did derail his campaign when he first ran for
The first
president.
time around, yeah, and they seem to have forgot all that when the next time.
Well,
You
now
know,
it doesn't
eh,
matter.
yeah,
Character doesn't matter in the
no,
Democrat Party anymore. Remember Gary Hart? He got thrown out because of that picture with Donna Rice on the sailboat. What was the name of that? Oh, Monkey Business was the
monkey
name of the
business,
boat.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's yeah. Yeah, you look back. I mean, look at was it Sergeant Shriver? Yeah, that was
Yes.
running as a vice presidential candidate, and he had to drop out because it turned out he had gone to a therapist.
Oh, fuck.
Now it's like therapy is part of their bread and butter. I just
Mm-hmm.
the idea that and of course that was stupid for him to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I agreed. Not that I would have voted for him anyways, but because they were Democrats, but still
Well,
the this
who was the guy that derailed Ross Perot's campaign?
can't
Admiral
remember.
Stockton.
Oh yeah.
Remember what he said in one of those debates?
Oh God, you're making me have to think back to this.
He
My
said,
memory is
"What am I doing here?" And
yeah,
oh boy,
yeah. That sort of sounds like what the General Miley was doing uh, at
at that hearing.
no. He was more like that's more like what he sounded like when he did his speech for the graduating class of West Point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He's I thought, man, of course, he's a warmonger. He's saying, a lot of people don't realize it's the Democrats that seem to get us into these wars and the Republicans get us out. At least that's the way it used to be. But then we got, of course, 9/11. That couldn't be, that had to
Yeah,
be taken
that
care of.
was kind of different.
Iraq, that was with Afghanistan. But
Yeah,
Iraq, now that would have been different.
yeah.
I just look back on politics and what it used to be and what
Mm-hmm.
it is now, and I just shake my head every day. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and I was thinking,
You were
you were talking,
thinking.
yeah, well, you
That's
were talking about
dangerous.
how the independents or the one the you were mentioning the constitutionalists that ran and took 30% of that vote
Mm-hmm.
and got the was it Hickenlooper or whatever
Yep.
that got elected. Well, the same thing has happened. I don't know how many people saw Greg on your
Oh,
show last night.
yes,
That's what
over in
that's what
Australia, and
happened.
that's another good topic right there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I don't, we're probably off track already, but I was going to say that would be a good segue into discussing what happened in Australia.
Right.
Because he called me up yesterday before, it was early in his day. And, here, and we kind of discussed it. What happened was Australia, the way this was the first. I think he did. This is the first time that Scott Morrison, who was the prime minister, it's the first time a prime minister has finished his term without being kicked out of the. Because what they do, they're parliamentary. So what they do is they just, if they don't like what their prime minister is doing, the head of the party, if they don't like what he's doing, they just vote him out, vote of no confidence, and they replace him, and the actual party changes they had, not the people. The elections are still every 4 years, but and what happened was Scott Morrison became a centrist. In other words, he even though he says he didn't believe in climate control, he ran on that and he won on that. But then that was 4 years ago. But then what happened was he says, all right, we don't believe in it, but we're going to go ahead and do all this stuff that the world, climate control exchange, people say that we need to do. So we're going to do it. And so the independents, and that was the big thing. The independents started looking and saying, I can't tell the difference between this guy and that guy over there. We don't like neither one of them, but, so they flipped the coin and the independents ended up voting. And basically the independents got a third. The, what they call the Conservative Party, the Conservatives, which is called the Liberal Party.
Right.
Confusing for us Americans, but then the labor, the way I can keep it straight is labor is just like our unions, and our unions here are usually Democrat. Okay.
Right.
So
liberal.
They're progressive, but the laborers are the unions are predominantly vote the liberal side or the Democrat side, So I look at labor down there, and that's their liberals for us, and their liberal party is their conservatives, and they actually have a party called the Conservatives
remember
too.
What liberal used to mean? Liberty.
Liberty, yeah, and that's what they believe in. But what happened was people couldn't tell the difference. Uncle Extra Medium's in. Lord help us all. What happened was the Australians, they couldn't tell the difference. So they didn't get enough of those center of the roads. They didn't want to vote for any of them. So they just went, they picked these other little parties that met. So you've got a third, and he doesn't have 50% of the vote. He only has 1/3 of the vote, but the Labor candidate has enough to put together, or has enough for a government. He ended up with the most votes of one group, and that's sort of what happened with Ross Perot. That's sort of that's what I think has happened with a lot of we don't look at the independent vote as seriously as we should, because or the undecided, and when I say independent, I mean not necessarily registered independent, but the libertarians, the independents of different, some states have independent parties and some states don't, but we don't look at the undecided, and that's where the majority of the average American falls, We're kind of like, and down there they couldn't tell the difference between the labor and the liberal, so they went with, there was another 20 parties they went with instead of all of them jumping on, because when Scott Morrison won 4 years ago, it was massive. But also, they're going through the same thing we went through 2 years ago.
Yep.
Where everybody ended up saying, well, we're going to vote for, we're not going to vote
anybody
for Trump
else
again.
but Morris.
Yeah. And in there, it was like, for us 2 years ago. But they also didn't deal with the thing that hurt Morrison too was the pandemic. But see, they didn't have to worry about it 2 years ago. They locked it down so tight that nothing, they had 1,000 cases when the rest of us were running 500,000 cases, Yeah. But then they had
a time where 2 people died, and they locked down the whole freaking country.
They locked the country down, and they made the restrictions so tight, and that was 2 years ago, that they didn't actually start dealing with the pandemic until they started lifting. And then when they did, they didn't have the immunity that we did. The herd immunity hadn't kicked in.
That's right, because everybody was cooped up in their houses, and they couldn't build up the immunity.
Yeah, and they just didn't even have it coming into the country, or any of that. And so it never ran its course. So they're 2 years behind us. So their politics is also 2 years behind us, in how the country reacted to what was going on. And that's something we got to be aware of. I think that's what hurt Trump more than anything was he scamdemic. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
or the plandemic.
Plandemic, yeah. Yeah, have you noticed we're just getting ready to really get geared up for the next election season for the midterms, and we got monkeypox.
Monkeypox. Oh, and another variant of the Omicron.
That whole variant crap.
I know. Yeah, here in Jefferson County, they're talking about, oh, you gotta wear a mask. That's more in healthcare than it is.
Yeah.
Hopefully, it's not with the grocery stores because
it's
I'm done. I'm done with the mask. But
when
I went and got my my physical last week, I had to wear a freaking mask to the doctor's office.
Yep. Well, we wore a mask when we went over for Judy to get the PET scan and to see the doctor, but that's also a cancer treatment center, so
that's true. Well, we're not dealing with cancer. What did we do 4 years ago? People would get sick, go see the doctor. Nobody wore a freaking mask.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just
He asked. Anna Story asked, "Do you think Trump's a good candidate for 24, or should we verge away from him?"
I think we ought to stay away because he's
too divisive.
He's not viable for for here in Colorado. He's done. He lost both times, and anybody who's anywhere close to Trumpian is
and there's still a lot of anti-Trumpers out there. But I think I would like to see. I'll tell you what I'd like to see. I think the perfect balance would be Ted Cruz and
Ron DeSantis.
Ron DeSantis, yeah, I'd love to see that as a. I think the Republicans
that's a possibility. It may be Ron DeSantis, Ted Cruz. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, either way, I'd rather see DeSantis. Back in November last year, the monkeypox coming out in May 2022. I'll link the person I follow. Reddit. Okay. All right.
Okay. Cool. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you. Thanks, Steve. Yeah. Yeah. I think Trump has a lot of good input for the party. I think he's a great strategist when it comes to some of this stuff. I think he's great at fundraising. I think he could help a lot. Mm-hmm. The jury's still out on how much he's going to help because we have to wait and see how a couple more elections come out. But
the primaries, which is another good
because they're still dealing with the one that Dr. Oz is in. That one's still up in the air.
I guess that they still haven't.
It's come down. Well, it's come down to where they're within within less than 1,000 votes, I think.
Yeah,
and it's still. And when you get that close, they're probably going to have a recount. Yeah. I know
Dr.
here in
Oz
Oklahoma,
and the other guy was McCormick. He's the hedge fund guy.
Yeah. My problem with Dr. Oz is he reminds me of the old-fashioned snake oil doctors.
Yeah.
Because he used to sell. You'd see pop-ups on Facebook all the time of this stuff that he was showing on his show. And he got busted by the FDA for it and had to quit doing that, Either he took some bad advice or he didn't read the research properly or he was just, but he's, as a doctor.
He's not very strong on Second Amendment.
Yeah. And, yes, we have to have moderates, but we need to have not moderates, but we need to have somebody who's right of center that's got some conservative values.
Center who can appeal to majority of the people.
Majority of the people, but they need to be strong on Second Amendments.
Second Amendment, First Amendment,
First Amendment, yeah.
the border,
Defense.
immigration.
Speaking of First Amendment, that reminds me. Have you guys heard what Congress is, a bipartisan group in Congress is trying to do to Google?
No, do tell.
They are trying to split Google up because they've got such a large majority of all of their different companies that they're advertising. They're over $50 million, $50 billion in advertising, and they're controlling it from Google, from all the different subsidiaries. And it's created a monopoly in the advertising, doesn't allow other platforms to be able to use it. And so they've introduced a bill to start splitting them up.
Oh, kind of like what they did with Standard Oil.
Like what they did with AT&T.
And AT&T, yep.
Yeah. That's what they just introduced it on Friday. I saw it pop up, and yeah, it's and we're talking YouTube, we're talking Google, we're talking ad space and all that different stuff. So yeah.
Yes, I am. I've subscribed to this guy.
I do too. I subscribe to him too. That guy's. I really enjoy him. He's kind of does it. He kind of. He's just down to earth the way he does his stuff. He's not flashy. It's not a big fancy set. He just comes in there, says his thing, and like that. But anyways, yeah, I saw that Google is, and they say it's going to hurt Google. It's going to financially hurt them. And I think they said no lawsuits had been brought, but there is actually a lawsuit against Google right now that has gone. One state filed it, and now it's been joined. It's to the point that it's about to be turned into a class action lawsuit against Google. So,
interesting.
Because it's a multi-state lawsuit that have joined. Several different states have joined in because they control so much. I mean, everything you look at now, And
look at Google. They started out back in the 90s when the internet was still kind of congealing.
Google wasn't even that big a deal because most people used Yahoo. They used
Yahoo. Remember
Ask
Netscape?
Jeeves. Netscape.
Ask
I love.
Jeeves.
Yeah, Netscape was so much better than Firefox is close to it, but not quite.
Explorer. Yep.
Yeah, Explorer, which has gone by the wayside. But I thought Netscape, when they had the browser wars, I thought Netscape was far better. And but
yeah, I was in the Netscape camp for a long, long time, and now I use DuckDuckGo, which
I do too. I use DuckDuckGo as well.
Privacy.
Yeah, I do too.
Well, actually, what it does is it gives you more control about how much information you want to give out.
Yeah.
It's all about cookies, your browser cookies.
Your browsers, yeah. That's what I use too, is DuckDuckGo, and but I saw that and I thought I got to talk about that. That Google is being, it could, it's going to be a couple of years, but and might be. I use meow go.
Meow go.
Yeah, but yeah. So anyways, I thought that was interesting.
Was that a spinoff from Pornhub?
What's that? Meow go? Yeah, it could have been. Yeah.
Well, you see a lot of okay.
Yeah. You see a lot of meow.
Yeah, meow and penetration. Okay.
Chuck's not here, right? So you had to say it.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness! So we've lost track where we're at.
We're all over the place. We were talking about primaries. There was another primary in Ohio, where Vance was the winner,
Okay.
and he was a Trump endorsee and kind of a well, he's going off on this stolen election crap, and hopefully that doesn't torpedo our chance of winning that seat. Now he's running for Senate, so
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You know.
Another good YouTube channel is Red Eagle Politics. If you want to learn about the demographics, the maps of what states are strong and what parties, and he breaks
Right.
it down by uh, House seats, Senate seats, and electoral college and all that stuff,
Right.
even
Right.
down
Right.
to state races.
Yeah.
And up in Idaho, a bunch of what he calls rhinos. They've got thrown out in their primaries there, so it's good to see some new blood being infused in the
Yeah.
party because
Well.
that's the bench for the party.
Yeah.
Is we
Yeah.
gotta it all starts in uh, county commissioners and city council race.
Right.
That
Right.
is, it's kind of like the A ball for baseball, if you like that
Right.
reference. And that's where you develop the talent to help move up to different levels. You got your uh, county commissioners, which can, run for uh, uh, state house or
State
state
House or State
senate,
Senate. Yeah.
or
Yeah.
or even a statewide race like Secretary of State
Right.
and treasurer. Those are
Yeah.
all important. I say it starts. Yes,
Yeah, the Department of Education. I was thinking the same thing because
mhm,
what I was thinking is a lot of school boards are being overturned, and because the
that's
parents are
true.
getting tired, and I think therein is that's where it starts. He's right. Department of Education, and they hire the teachers they want to teach the kids. Uh, yeah, teachers push Democrat ideologies. He's absolutely right, and you're
Mm-hmm.
that's probably the best point right there. We need to start at the school board.
School board.
We need
Oh, and another
and the state the state uh
board of
oh the head
education.
yeah state board of education, president of the board of education. Those are electable
Well, where do you
spots.
think our illustrious governor of Colorado came from?
Well, exactly. Yeah.
Say he was on the state board of education, and then he went
Yeah.
to he was a state house rep, and then he bought every seat that he's in. He bought that uh,
Yeah.
board of education. Yep, yeah.
Polis was part of it.
Polis was part of the Gang of Four, of very wealthy Democrats who came up with a plan to turn Colorado from red to blue. And so Polis bought that seat, and then he bought the state house seat. And then there was an opening for Congress. When Udall decided to run for Senate,
Yeah.
he bought that seat. And
Which
then,
Udall was that?
oh, that was Mark Udall.
Mark Udall. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And then
I was
when Mark
thinking.
Udall was defeated by Gardner, Corey Gardner, and then
Right.
Polis was a congressman for, I think, 3 terms, I believe, 3 or 4 terms. And then he decided, oh, Hickenlooper, he's term limited. So he
Yeah.
bought that seat. And he
Yeah.
sunk like $30 million into that race.
Well, this is the other thing. We've really got to start, and I don't know how we're going to do it because it's become a self-aware entity in a way. But we need to get political correct, or not political. God no, we don't need political correctness. God
You
forbid. I
mean
can't believe I
wokeness?
said that. No, we need to get we need to get put spending limits on these elections.
No,
know?
this is where I disagree, Lloyd, because money, it equals freedom of speech. And if you start limiting how much money can be spent, that's what McCain-Feingold was all about, and that's all. That was all to protect incumbents, and
Yeah,
and
but
and it looks like that's about to be struck down as well.
but of course, yeah, that's true.
And that was
That's true.
unconstitutional.
Yeah, yeah, because that I remember that has come up several times, and you're right.
Mhm.
But it's hard for my last presidential campaign was about $60.
Mhm.
It might have been 100. It might have been all the way as 150. But
Well, and Polis, he outspent his in his last election. He outspent his opponent 2-1. I mean,
yeah, and this is
Stapleton. He spent something like close to $20 million, and he had name recognition. Unfortunately, that's what hurt him because Polis was able to turn it around and say, "See, he's a white supremacist," because when his great grandfather was mayor of Denver, he allowed the Klan to.
That's what and that's what they don't. You said Stapleton. I was going to ask, is that the same one that Stapleton International Airport was named after? Yeah, his ancestry. Okay, yeah. Well, and unfortunately, Colorado had a very big Klan presence. Grand Junction had a huge Klan presence.
Well, you remember my old backdrop that Westminster Castle?
Yeah.
That was it. They were involved with Pillars of Fire. They were
Pillars of Fire.
Klan members.
Yeah, I remember. I remember hearing about Pillars of Fire when it's because over there by where that castle was at, it's not all that far from where I lived. It's
yep. And how about that radio station, KPOF?
KPOF, yeah.
Pillar of Fire.
Pillar of Fire.
It was a Christian radio station.
Christian radio station. I do remember that.
Yep. Mm-hmm. So, and this leads into now the Democrats.
Exactly. He says, "Who's that knocking on my door talking about election violations?" Yeah. Well, I had a couple people donate to my presidential campaign. Like Rick Halber was kind enough to get. He had the original full size yard sign made for me, and got my first set of pins, and then I ordered a second set of pins. So yeah. So my campaign wasn't big, and of course then I had donations like from Curtis Dart, who donated to help with my campaign commercials. So yeah.
Oh, you know what would be a great campaign? It would be Curtis Dart and Jim Beauchart. We called the Dart Beauchart.
There is that. Yeah.
Or the Beauchart Dart.
I'm considering. I'm
Say
considering
that
running
real fast 10 times.
Beauchart Dart. Yeah. I don't want to. But I am considering running again in 2024. I'm have a different. I'll probably have a different running mate. You're going to be my. You're probably going to.
We could get twice as many people.
Well, at least 1.5 as many. I'm sorry. I did that. I think I did that joke on you last night, something along that line. That's terrible. I should be ashamed of myself, but hey, we are called the 3 conservative Gimps.
Yeah, well,
and
now it's the 1.5 Gimp.
one and a half Gimps.
We're
yeah,
missing a guy.
We are missing one of the Gimps. So yeah. I was hoping Mike could be on because I was trying to find. I was wondering what wheelchair he uses now because
Right.
because I got a new one which Judy loves. It's easier.
Which is
It's
good to see that you're into the greeny ways of the world.
well,
All you need now is a solar panel on top of
to
it
charge it. Yeah.
keep it
Well,
down,
I
charge
had
it while
actually
you're
we
on the go.
were talking about. I said, I might even get. We were talking about maybe getting a 4-wheeler. Judy says at the cost of gas, we may have to get something like that. I said, well, it's getting to the point. If it gets much higher here, I'm going to start making sure my wheelchair is charged, and I'll drive it up to the grocery store.
There you go.
It's only three blocks up from here. I'll just get my wheelchair and drive it up there because, and it's electric. It's green. It's not. It doesn't cost that much to charge it. But yeah.
Well, rumor has it that gas may hit $6 a gallon.
I've heard $6 a gallon. Yeah.
I mean, it's already pretty close to $6 in California, but
well,
have you seen the price of diesel? It's
God,
crazy.
yeah,
That's
crazy,
why everything is so expensive. Where do our goods come from? Truckers.
Truckers. And it's going to get to the point that there's going to be a lot of trucks parked over there if this doesn't change here pretty soon. If we don't get a break, some of these guys are going to have to. It's 629 there. Okay, where Chris is at. So, well, it's like the convenience store that I go to buy my gas all the time. They're usually the cheapest in town, but they've also had the 3 levels of gas. They discontinued the 2 upper tiers. They're just running the cheap stuff. All of their tanks have been converted to the cheap stuff.
Converted, okay.
Yeah, converted. Yeah, concerted. They've made a concerted effort to convert.
Okay, that's good. That's good.
Good save there, right? Yeah.
So what needs to happen, what I hope that'll happen in November, is we get to a point where we have an overwhelming majority in the House, and hopefully
a majority in the Senate.
We get a veto-proof Congress. We could turn this around. But I think the most that we could get in the Senate is 54, maybe 55, possibly 56 seats, and that's not enough. And I don't know if we could get enough Democrats to vote for us to overturn. Because here's the deal. Here's the deal. Even if we have legislation that passes both houses to tell the president, hey, turn the spigot on for oil, get rid of the regulations, tell the banks to stop with this mandates on not loaning money to oil companies.
Yeah,
and open up these those leases that they already sold or already given out to the oil companies, and then let them. Okay, here you go out there and have at it. But you know what? I don't think Biden will go for it. I think he'll veto it. And I mean, look at what happened to Bill Clinton. It took 3 times to get him to do welfare reform.
You said something, I've gonna check my memory, which isn't very good. But you said we don't need a supermajority in the Senate. Other than
I think
no, the House the House overturns the veto, not the Senate.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you for that correction.
I heard that and I thought that doesn't sound right. No, that's why we have to have the majority of the House, because that can overturn a veto. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
stand correct.
Yeah. I thought the reason we need the supermajority in the Senate is there's certain rules that they have to pass. They have to have 60 votes.
Yeah, cloture.
Well, like I think to override a filibuster. Yeah. I think maybe not. I can. There's certain ones so when there's a certain reason they have to have the 60, but when it comes to overriding the veto, it's the House that does that. So, you know, I think they have to have like a 60% or something like that. I can't remember. Steve would probably know it. I haven't looked at that in a while, and I haven't thought about it. But you said, nah, that's not right, Art.
I think you're right, Lloyd. I thought it was the Senate.
The Senate, No, the Senate is for confirmations, and well, they also, but yeah. I believe that when we finally do open everything up. The other thing about creates the software and algorithms for China's social monitoring system. Yes, they do.
Oh yeah, for the social credit,
the social scoring. Yeah. That's the other thing. Yeah, but what was I going to say now? I just thought about it. Oh, you talk about opening up the leases or all these leases. The problem is, I am correct. Good. The problem with the leases is all the regulations that they have to deal with, and they're not going to spend money on they're not going to spend all that money trying to set everything up to fit the regulation, not knowing for sure if that lease is going to produce anything. I mean, companies can't do business like that. Some of these leases are on, somewhere in somewhat sketchy ground. But the regulations prevent them from going in there and doing a lot of the testing that they would normally do to get it producing well. And that's the problem with these. The regulations are what's hurting him. He can sit there and spout off, well, we've got all these leases that we've already given out. Why aren't they doing that? It's because of your friggin' green initiative regulations. These tree hugging, frou-frou wearing.
Here's another idea. How about open up coal mining again?
Yeah. That's what Hillary said.
Here's another idea. How about finish the Keystone XL pipeline?
There's a lot that could be done, and to bring, and that's the thing. This demented old fart that we got up there.
Energy independent and exporter of energy, and then that helps out the Europeans who are, I guess, they're shut off from natural gas and oil from Russia. The best way to screw with the Russians, especially with this war, is if we get to where we could flood the market with a lot of oil.
Yeah, that would destroy
price down. That hurts the Russian. Yeah,
but he doesn't want to do that. He wants to. I still say the whole reason for this war with Ukraine, that Russia has their reasons, but the reason we've jumped in with Ukraine is so that they hopefully blow up all the evidence against Hunter Biden and the Biden family. Because that's what's happening. And you're right. The Dems are working in the U.S. to come up with a social scoring and monitoring. Social credit scoring, and that's the important thing, credit scoring, because it'll hurt, depending on what you put on your social media to hurt your credit. But and it's that's what ticked me off when the insurance companies here in Oklahoma started rating your insurance rates based on your credit score. I may not have the best credit score, but I've not had any accidents. I've not had, I don't get tickets. I don't, and yet they raised my prices. And this was years ago that they did this, because my credit score wasn't squeaky clean. I didn't have a 825 on my credit score, And I don't think anybody has a perfect credit score. Well, there's a few out there that are really far more fiscally conservative than I am. I'm fiscally conservative. I just don't always practice it when it comes to. I see something I want, I
that's
buy it,
like
and then I pay it.
Mormons who like the.
Yeah.
What were those Mormons called?
I can't remember now.
Jack Mormon.
Jack Moore. Oh, yeah. That's right. But he's right, and the one good thing. Speaking of the social credit scoring, is that's why the Dems are working with Google to break them out from under the Section 230 that they for their special use. Yeah.
Yep.
Never
Yeah,
mind.
there.
Never mind. Yeah, never mind. I was going somewhere and I
Oh,
stopped
you're
and looked
doing your
Yeah.
what
Where's
was
that little?
Emily Lutella?
There's my little squirrel right there. Yeah,
Never mind.
I looked at the chat. Yeah,
That's our episode of Saturday Night Live
yeah,
with
it's back
Lloyd
when it was
Lutella.
funny. Yeah. Never mind. Yeah. I hate when that happens. Just like, and you're right,
Oh, I
dead air
know.
right between the ears, right? Just
Yeah.
nothing but dead air space there for a
Yep.
second. Like,
A
good
short
Lord.
circuit between the ears. Yep.
Yeah, that's it. That's actually a write up I used to use. No, that's all right. My concentration gets broke all the time. That's actually a term we used to use when we could not duplicate it. When we were in weapon systems, we'd go out there and we'd test the weapon systems. The pilot had done something. He'd come back and said, this isn't working, or, we had a hung bomb or whatever. And, you'd put C&D, which stands for cannot duplicate. But a lot of times, if I dealt with this same pilot over and over with the same thing week after week, I'd just start writing short between the headsets. Because you have to do a write up. There's a logbook out there that's stored in the aircraft, and you have to get there and you have to write out exactly what the problem is, sign off on it, say what you fixed and what you did, what you couldn't fix, and then they would take it into the shop or go into further. Take it. Usually they'd red exit, and which meant it can't be flown. And
right.
pilots hated that because they were losing flight hours then. If you red X their aircraft, because each pilot was assigned an aircraft, and if you red exit, so they tended to try and make sure that it was not something they were doing wrong. If they red exit, you got it in the shop, and you still can't duplicate it. That's when we write it up short between the headsets.
There you go.
Ticked off a lot of pilots, but a lot of them were also young guys, so they were just they just out of flight school, and they were just getting their really getting started. So, anyways, yeah, but it happens. You're right. I completely lost track of what I was going to talk about, so I guess it's irrelevant. Anyways,
yep.
Let you have that control.
Lloyd, we did a little bit over an hour, and we covered a lot of ground. We kind of meandered all over the place, but basically we covered the main topics, which were primaries, and we got more primaries coming up in the next few months before the election, and some of those will be important. This last Tuesday we had primaries in Idaho, Ohio, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and I think upcoming, if I go into my Google, I could bring it up. Primaries 2022, and then we got upcoming primaries. Okay, where do we go? Hopefully we'll find it.
Their primary is in California is June 7th.
Okay.
and I think ours is coming up about the same time here in June. I think is when our primary is.
Okay,
I'll
May
have to look it
10th
up.
was Nebraska, West Virginia, Kentucky was the 17th, Oregon, Pennsylvania, Idaho. And then coming up, on the 24th is Alabama, Georgia. Then June 7th is California, Iowa, Mississippi, Montana, New Jersey, New Mexico, South Dakota. And on the 14th, we have Maine, Nevada, North Dakota, South Carolina, and Virginia. And also in June 28th is Colorado. Yep.
Okay.
In July is Maryland, and also on June 28th is New York, Oklahoma, Utah.
Okay, June 28th. I thought it was in June. Yeah.
So that'll be important, and I'm
Okay,
hoping
Chris.
that Heidi Ganahl is the candidate for governor. The only problem is we had a candidate that lost at the state house, didn't get the 30% to get on the ballot, so she decided to take her ball and go to the American Constitutional Party so she could muck it up. Like Colorado is going to get screwed again this
year. Yeah. So it's frustrating. I'm just glad I live in Oklahoma where we're predominantly a red state.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We got a couple of Fruit Loops out there, but for the most part we are conservatives. Even our Democrats are conservatives. Yeah. Except those that have moved in from out of state now. We have
like Illinois.
The ones that moved in from California,
Oregon,
Washington. Yeah, from all those West Coasters. Yeah, we've got some of those, but I tell you what, I heard so much in 2020 about from Democrats. Of course, they're the old blue dog Democrats. They're they were voting Republican, and from what I understand, they still feel that way. More so now. So, but anyways, we've done enough on this show, so I'll shut up.
Yes, I want to thank everybody in the chat for coming this Sunday. I'm taking a week off. Next week is Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah, I said it right this time. I said it right.
And so it's a 3-day weekend. No Art Co. And by the way, I've got these cool stickers for my other channel. And so we'll be back in 2 weeks. And any closing words, Lloyd?
It's what I always say. Be kind. Treat each other better than you would treat yourselves. Remember, everybody matters. Okay? And God bless, God help the USA because we need it.
All right. Thank you, everybody in the chat. And Anna Sterry, thanks for coming. It was a pleasure having you in the chat.
Absolutely.
Good
Absolutely.
inputs there. Steve, Chris, Mason, good to see you. And Mike B, always good to have you guys. And
don't forget the Grumpy Vlogger tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Central Time.
All right. Which I will be the co-host. So,
which you will be the co-host, yep.
You guys have a great Memorial Day weekend, and we'll catch you next time. God bless, and bye-bye.